I reviewed the Godox M600D when it first came out 2 or 3 years ago, and to be honest, when I heard that an M600R was coming, I figured it would be the same exact thing but with added color and wouldn't warrant an entirely new review. Since you're here, you've probably deduced that there's more to this light than it seems. This is the Godox Knowled M600R, a professional grade 600 watt full color light. The first thing that I noticed immediately when I opened the box that it came in was just how much heavier it was. This light, in its case with all the accessories, is around 65 pounds compared to the M600D at around 40 pounds. So as expected, the build quality on this light is extremely good. The only plastic on the body of the light is the rear end cap with the handle, but even that is really high quality materials and feels very sturdy. The top and bottom have the signature Godox honeycomb pattern for heat dissipation, while the front features a native Bowens mount for modifiers. Unlike some other lights, the actual LED is recessed into the body of the light, which does give it some added protection. In front of the LED, there's a little lens that not only acts as a protective cover, but also blends the light together more seamlessly. On the back is a push-lock power input port, as well as a smaller accessory port. As of now, I'm unaware of any accessories that actually use this port, but obviously Godox put it there for a reason. Another really cool thing compared to the daylight and bicolor versions of this light is the quick connect system that lets you remove the yoke entirely. With the flip of a switch and the press of a button, you can detach the yoke from the light. It makes it really easy to rig this thing up without the actual weight of the light in your hands, then you just pop the light onto the yoke. It's also useful when you're connecting it to something like their parallel beam modifier, which has its own mounting yoke. That way you don't have a second one just kind of dangling there. The mounting yoke has big rubber grips on it to make handling such a heavy light more comfortable, along with a safety lanyard attachment, and it has a combo mount on the bottom. It can not only slide onto a typical 5/8 inch receiver like you'll find on a C-stand, but also acts like a 1 1/8 inch stud that you can slide into other bigger receivers. One weird thing is that it doesn't seem to come with a tightening knob to be used when you're attaching it to a 5/8 inch stud. I thought it might have been just me and that it was missing, but all the pictures online show it without one, so it just doesn't make sense to me. The angle adjustment tightening knob is very beefy and tightens down with ease, which is as expected for a light this size. With the M600R, the included reflector also has a slot for accessories like filters and gels, which you won't find on the daylight and bicolor versions. It's also nice because the housing protects the reflector from getting dinged up or bent during use. The controller itself is equally as beastly, made of all metal, with just plastic top and bottom end caps. But there is one big thing that you get with the daylight and bicolor versions that you don't get on the controller for the M600R. The controllers for those lights have dual V-mount slots, so you can use V-mount batteries directly on the controller. On one side, you'll find the twist lock AC input port, 48-volt DC input port, and an Ethernet port for remote control. So the M600R does support battery power, you just have to use an external battery station to do it. This controller is a lot bigger and heavier, so on one hand I miss the ease of use of that feature, but on the other it would become an absolute behemoth with V-mount batteries directly attached. It also has a paracord style handle, which just makes it easier to move around or hang it on a light stand if you want to. The other side has full-size DMX ports as well as a USB-A port for firmware upgrades. The front side is nothing but branding, and the back side has the adapter to mount the controller to the included Quick Connect clamp. On top, you'll find the power button, push lock power output port, as well as ports for the detachable CRMX antenna and an external controller. The main screen is large, full color, and high definition, so it's really easy to use and the controls are all really responsive. There are 4 buttons and a single pressable knob for control, and the control scheme is very straightforward. The preset button lets you save and load presets really easily without the need of a mobile app like most other lights, which I found really useful. The lock button, as you might assume, locks the controls once they're dialed in so they don't get changed accidentally. Within the menu, you can change a ton of different things, including dimming curves, wireless settings, and fan mode. With the fan mode set to off, you're limited to just 10% of the maximum brightness, and when it's set to medium, you're limited to 70%. Most people will probably leave this set to auto, but if you're more concerned with cooling than noise, or you want to have a consistent noise for denoising later in post, you can always set this to high and use the light on maximum brightness. The fan is really quiet on medium or anything below that, but even on high, it's about as loud as you would expect from a light this powerful. In CCT mode, you can adjust the color temperature from 1800 to 10,000 Kelvin in increments of 100 Kelvin, the brightness in increments of just 0.1%, and since this is a full color light, the green magenta tint from -100 to +100%. You get HSI, RGB, and XY coordinate modes for color, complete with a few different color gamuts to choose from. There's also a gel mode with a ton of different categorized and customizable Lee and Roscoe gels to choose from. In special effects mode, you get 14 different special effects, and they're all highly customizable right on the controller itself. As far as mobile app control goes, you can control this light with the Godox Light mobile app or with the Godox Knowled app. Within the Godox Light mobile app, you can control individual or groups of lights, and it also has a color picker to set the color of the light using a photo. The Godox Knowled app only works on tablets, and it's a more complete wireless DMX control system for more complex setups. I tested the Godox Knowled M600R for brightness and color accuracy with no modifiers using my Sekonic C800 and got the following results. With the light set to 3200 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 3153, a brightness of 17,700 lux, and a color correction number of 0.1 magenta, and that's without adjusting the tint at all. I also got a CRI of 94.8 with good all-around individual R values, and an SSI versus the tungsten standard of 84. With the light set to 5500 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 5400, a brightness of 20,400 lux, which is less than 1/3 of a stop compared to the tungsten measurement, and a color correction number of 0.1 green, again without adjusting the tint at all. I also got a CRI of 96.3 and an SSI versus the daylight standard of 73. The only borderline thing here is the individual R12 value, which is slightly less than ideal, but honestly, it will make absolutely zero difference in a real-world scenario. Long story short, the color accuracy is good and is what I would expect from a light of this caliber. You'll have no color reproduction issues, and the tint adjustment just makes it that much easier to match any other lights in your scene. If you're used to consumer-grade Godox products, you have to understand that the Knowled lineup is not really geared towards small content creators. All of the Knowled products are a huge step up in every way, including weatherproofing like the IP54 rating of the M600R in particular. That doesn't mean I'll stop you if you want to use this light in your small home office. Trust me, if anyone supports using way overpowered gear just for the fun of it, it's me. The Godox Knowled M600R retails for $2,490, which is the same as the Aputure LS 600C Pro Mark II. Although their output is essentially identical, there are differences between the two. Like the Godox quick release yoke, a larger and better screen, a beefier overall build, and a better stock reflector. But what do you think? Leave a comment and let me know if you would choose the M600R over the usual alternatives out there. Links are in the description, and if you buy anything at all after clicking my links, that's the best way to support my channel at no extra cost to you. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.